The all-new Volkswagen Passat is here, new generation. They actually want to go a little bit more upmarket with the new Passat. Does it even make an Audi obsolete? We're going to find out here with Thomas Nordegfuel in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. This is the Elegance, one of the two top trims. Horizontal stress here, more chrome details. Light strip goes all the way across. We also expect an illuminated logo at a later stage. Mariposa green is this vehicle color. Of course, more colors are available also throughout this review, like this white one. And this is the R-Line, sporty R-Line. Look at that here, horizontal stress, and then the black mesh grille. So this is the more contrastish look, I would say. And also look at these indentations here on the top of the hood. However, what you can clearly see that it is more aerodynamic than before. From 0.31 improved to 0.25 in the CD value, and their lower value is better. So they definitely optimized all the small details to make it more efficient. Side profile of the R-Line here with the badge. 18-inch wheels here in black design, and the R-Line also features here this black contrast in the lower part. R-Line in the rear. First of all, light strip goes all the way through. That's standard for the new Passat. Here also really cool segmented tail lamp signature. In the lower part you can see the R-Line has a special feature once again with this black mesh, and it is the greatest contrast when you have the black high gloss things, and then here of course the white color, also here then Passat badging in black. Suspension specific, the R-Line has 15 millimeters lower suspension, either a fixed sport suspension when you just normally go for the R-Line. If you then go for the optional DCC, the new DCC Pro, it also still keeps this 15 millimeters lower, unless you have the e-hybrid, the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. Then it always remains at the very same height. So there is basically a deletion of the sport suspension, because the plug-in hybrid, for security reasons, for the battery, always keeps the normal height, normal level. R-Line seats here, look at that, badge and an integrated head restraint, microfiber on the outside parts here, fabric on the inside. So this is the sporty seat that comes with the R-Line. And good comfort. The only thing is here with 189, 6'2", still have enough headroom, but here the integrated head restraint, because they're not adjustable, I think I'm maybe even a little bit too tall for that already. However, looking forward to if this here, the R-Line seat, is more comfortable or the one in the Elegance. We're finding out. Microfiber on the dashboard, that's beautiful. Then this illuminated deco element here, you can have the ambient lighting in there, and then the blue contrast stitch. So R-Line interior looks pretty fancy already, and the steering wheel here with perforations at the side. This one, however, is still animal material in the, in all of the VW combustion engines, so they're not as sustainable as they do with the electric vehicles. And even here in the R-Line, always real buttons at the steering wheel. Good job. R-Line in the rear repeats this pattern here, fabric on the inside and some microfiber inserts with the blue contrasts. So we have seen Oryx white with the R-Line, we have seen Mariposa green with the Elegance, and here we have once again Elegance trim, but in chili red. Also, yeah, very screaming out color, definitely. In the side profile now, 4 meters 92 or 194 inches. It's 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches longer than the predecessor, so massive gain in length. Also in wheelbase, shares the platform with the Škoda Superb. That is available both as the Estate and as a fastback sedan, so to speak. The Passat in this generation is now variant or Estate only, actually, because they say, yeah, we won't sell too many sedans. We concentrate then rather on, like SUV is the thing, electric vehicles, but they move away from these classic car forms. Do you agree? Then here, 18-inch wheels also for this very vehicle. Elegance trim in the rear, you can see a more subtle look here in the lower part. Which one would you go for? Sporty R-Line or here the Elegance? A base trim would rather look like the Elegance trim. The R-Line is the most screaming out one, definitely. Interesting technology highlight is the DCC Pro. New adaptive suspension. So they now use a 2-valve system before 1 valve. So 1 valve basically per spring way. This gives you more comfort and sportiness at the same time, and you can rule in between that. We're also going to find out when we drive it later. Turning indicators, very visible, and if you have the optional LED, it also has this cascading function, both in the front and also in the rear. Oh, and do you know that situation here? Someone parked you in. Well, then you can use the remote park assist connected to the Volkswagen app, and then you can actually park this vehicle out of this too narrow parking lot. This basically works always, so you don't have to program anything for that. Here, the car just goes straight backward or forward depending on the situation. And the second use case is this here. For that use case, you can see I basically have my car on the leash there and it parks in automatically, also with a corner, so to speak. This, however, only works if you have programmed this before. So you have to do this parking maneuver once yourself, then the car can do it automatically. Key fob, yeah, I can't stop with the high gloss black though, right? Then door closing sound, really solid, like that. Inside of the doors, in front, soft touch here in the top part, also nicely structured. This one in here, the elegance trim. Once again, the rear buttons on the steering wheel, and these here are the Ergo Active seats. Microfiber on the inside, also some more shoulder area, leather on the outside, so the seats are animal free. And this is here also the separated head restraint, so a difference to the R-Line seat. And seat in comparison here, the elegance seat or the microfiber seat versus the R-Line seat. Well, that the head restraint is separated, that's better because I can adjust the height here, a little bit higher, and it's also a little bit softer, I feel. Then again, the upper area, the shoulder area, better here, I feel, because the R-Line seat is a little bit more caged in, but that might depend on the body. But the lower, the seating area, I feel, I mean, the surface here is also really nice with the microfiber, but the fabric, the bowstring might be a little bit soft. I'm not sure. So, yeah, I think overall it's light nuances. They both come close. I think when you're a little bit, like wider and taller, these seats here are actually better. When you're a little bit smaller, I think the R-Line seats will be better. Ooh, look at that. The microfiber seats in the bright styling. That is something for me. I just love that. Some might say, yeah, stains and so on. And yeah, but I'm really taking care of my cars like really, really diligently. Like there's also the, like the food warning always when someone tries to take out food in the vehicle. Yeah, shouldn't be allowed in the vehicle. Yeah, but I think I would go for this one here. Digital instruments, you can adjust a lot. You can change the whole view, but you can also decide what's in the middle or have here map full screen. That's, however, just the map of the car internal GPS. And you get a real head display with projection, and you can even pick this snow mode where then have the blue number to see that better. In the cockpit, dominating this 15-inch screen, base would be 13. This is here an option then. You have the main menu right here. They also worked on the CPU power in the back end, so it's definitely better than before. Most of the time, of course, you will use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. We had one freeze with Apple CarPlay, by the way, here today, so definitely have to mention that. And then here, sliders for the temperature. I prefer physical knobs, not hashtag capacitive BS, but still it's good to have them instead of just here in the screen. And here, seat massage. This is really cool. And it works very well. It feels like in a luxury vehicle. This is not just the lumbar support going, really individual cushions there. So that is a very good elaborated system. Quality and storage check. Glove box. Yeah, it's nicely dampened. Nice closing sound. Then the middle console has these sliders here. Same than in the Skoda. Then two USB-C chargers in the front. Inductive charging pad is also cool. These are the cooling holes. If I take out this rubber here, you can see this is then where it's ventilated. So that's good that it doesn't overheat. Then the cup holders are adaptive. There we go. And these are the, it's also the like from Skoda, So indeed, the Passat is more a Skoda now, it seems, but then a little bit more high class. And then here, look at that, the split opening. There we go. You can take out this, clutter thing. Ah, look at that. VW AG, yes. Slovakia. Back to the middle console, so you have more space then. Headroom also works with the panoramic roof, and you can see this is in a shade. Also nice bright ceiling then here in this very trim. So shade takes a while, and then it's a separate slider here for the real opening. So this is one of the rare, wow, this is large. So we see more and more fixed glass roofs, definitely. This one, this wasn't the sound of the car. This was like a golf buggy running here, like over some metal. So this then the real opening. So there we go. Very nice panoramic roof, isn't it? Passat convertible. Rear doors. Inside also structure and soft touch. We rarely see that nowadays. So indeed, yeah, it's keeping up premium promises. Then here also with a manual shade. And both front and also in the rear seating area, felt covering on the inside of the door pockets. Another check. And you really have to say, if we compare the true premium manufacturers, maybe this is even better here in some details. So yeah, hats off to that. Also the nice micro seats in the rear. It feels really, really nicely. Large middle tunnel, and you have a separate climate unit. It's like a book or phone holder, but I'm not sure who wants to look down there to the middle console. Adaptive cup holders, but kind of tiny. You could also use this ski hatch here. It's also possible. Yeah. Don't look at the clutter on the inside. And rear headroom. This is the one with the panoramic roof. So with 189, 602, it comes close. It would be then a little bit more if you don't go for this panoramic roof. Oh, like this cover here is not really that much stretched. Not sure if it's because one of the early vehicles, but yeah, I probably should tell Volkswagen this doesn't look too good. So maybe it should be a little bit more stretched indeed. But the rear comfort is really nice. Ah, wow, these head restraints are very comfortable indeed. And also more legroom than before. Wheelbase has been lengthened, so you have enough legroom here. Yeah, this could indeed, from the dimensions, definitely compete with an Audi A6 even. Well, if Leah wants to prevent that I'm playing with the rear climate unit, she can just cut me off like this and lock the rear climate unit. Let's check out here the loading area. First of all, electric hatch, and look at that. Here. Ah, here the cover. It automatically goes back and forth. Look at that. So I close the hatch and then there we go. Comes towards us again. That's a very nice feature. And wait a minute. Recently we had the BMW 5 Series Touring and it did not have that anymore. So here, actually good that they have that for this generation as well. And then 690 liters up to 1,920. It's 40 liters more in the base spec, and here it's actually a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in width. And the length here, the normal length, is about 115 in meters or 45 inches. Important for all our friends with doggos. Here is about 70 centimeters in height or 27 inches. Easily folding the seats from here, left and right, and they immediately fold very flat. That's cool. And to the seats as we would be driving, yeah, that's a massive gain now. So that's really 2 meters or 78 inches. Yeah, that's really cool. Then here we can have some more flexibility. Take this out, that one as well. And then underneath there is more space. Yeah, stay the subwoofer at the moment, but otherwise you could also fit a replacement tire. And then you have these trunk splitters here, for example, and you can see you can also take them out like here. And there we go. And then put them, for example, here, that, you know, maybe put something in the front and it doesn't fly all over the place. More details here on the right side. There is also a real power socket. There we go, 230 volts. And then we also have a retractable towing hook for this, and then it's semi-automatic like this. Have to go the last way, and then also you can push it back like this. Under the hood starts here with the 1.5 TSI turbo petrol engine, all 4-cylinder engines, 150 horsepower, stronger petrol engine, a 2-liter TSI, even up to 265 horsepower in the higher horsepower spec than with all-wheel drive. There's still the classic 2-liter TDI. Also in a higher horsepower spec, all-wheel drive is possible. Still a front wheel based platform, so there's a front plus rear on demand. And of course, very popular now, the plug-in hybrid has been massively upgraded based on the 1.5 TSI, but now with 20 kilowatt hours net, the battery, so it gives you a realistic of 80 kilometers, 50 miles of real-world range. The plug-in hybrid available in 2 horsepower specs, 204 horsepower or 272 horsepower, 8 seconds or 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. The bigger or more powerful one is then the second quickest in the acceleration figure. Quicker is just a 2-liter TSI in the 265 horsepower spec. That is then at 5.6 seconds in the acceleration figure. Recharging, 11 kilowatt AC, 50 kilowatt DC peak. So that is then 25 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new VW Passat. We start here with the plug-in hybrid in the all-electric mode and also accelerate out of the corner. See how smooth that works. Let's go. Plop, that's 60. I could accelerate a little bit quicker. That's possible, but I always have to, be gentle with the throttle, because when you floor it down, then the combustion engine will also go on, and I just want to get a feeling for the electric acceleration. It's also the theme of this vehicle in this generation. So before, the old plug-in hybrid drivetrain was more switching between electric and combustion engine, also lower range overall. And this here now is the scheme of having just more electric drive. So it starts always in the electric drive. You also have higher electric range, as I said, about 80 kilometers or 50 miles of real-world electric range. And it stays also in the electric mode, almost no matter what I do. So also when I here switch to the S shifting mode, which would be for the combustion engine, it doesn't turn on the engine or something. And we can also change the driving mode, which is here a little bit complicated. I don't have any manual interface here. I have to always do it in the screen here, but at least there's the hotkey on top there. I go to sport mode. Yeah, in this case then the engine hopped on, but now it's off again. So it really depends, but it's not that the logic is always goes on. And here in comfort, back to sports. So here now in this case, it did not go on. So before, when I switched to sport mode, it was always activating the combustion engine. Here it more depends on more different values. So sometimes it goes on, sometimes not. But the thing is that I hardly notice it. And that is also one of the core features. Now it's off again. But I really have to look in the instruments that I really see what is happening. Before I could feel it, it was maybe almost stuttering, or you could have like the audible thing. But now the transitions between electric drivetrain and the combustion engine is just so much smoother. And I think really before, in the previous generation, you had to go for the plug-in hybrid just because of the taxation thing. Now you could say, hey, I really want that engine because it's maybe fun, it's more performance, or you just want to have the more electric moments, and you want rather almost electric Passat, because in most situations you will have that. At the same time, you can have the combination here of both drivetrains. It's also just starting at a lower RPM, is more silent. Here in the sport mode, however, we have a little bit more RPM in general then, and it's also keeping it. So when you go to the comfort mode, it's always a little bit calmer experience. This also changes the DCC Pro now, the adaptive suspension. When you go to the comfort mode, it rules between a more comfortable span between comfort and sport, but you can also go to the individual mode, and my favorite setting is actually always going here. You can, from minus to plus, going all the way to comfort with the suspension, and then actually go for the steering with the sport setting. That is my favorite setting. You have more feedback then from the steering. It's not so vague, I would say. It feels more natural, a little bit sportier. Then again, you use all the comfort of that suspension, and wow, that suspension has really gone another leap forward, and it almost feels like you would be driving like a higher segment vehicle, because it's really smooth, especially when you're driving over some waves. And even more interesting is that when you're going to push it a little bit more into a slalom, like just doing like this, for example, this is now all the comfort setting, and then you do it here in the all sporty setting. and it doesn't change much. And that's, to me, a good thing, because what it does change here when we are all the way to sport, over these bumps, you really feel, that you have more contact to the ground. It's definitely a sportier setting. At the same time, it's not that you would go for all comfort, and then you say, you're leaning the car too much here. Comfort setting, corner, the car stays upright. And that's actually what also this two-valve technology is achieving, that you have both comfort and sportiness. And that's also the reason I would keep it in the most comfortable setting, because that's where you profit the most from this whole suspension setting. So if you ask me, should you go for the DCC or not? Yes, you should definitely pick one. Definitely go for that one. It gives so much comfort to the whole vehicle. It's also one of the unique features, definitely. Happy also with the steering in general, even more so when you have it in the sport setting, because in the comfort setting it's maybe a little bit too soft, I feel. But overall you have a good feeling. You have also a progressive steering. That means you have to keep your hands on the steering wheel all the time. That's a good thing. Or you can keep your hands at the steering wheel all the time. You don't have to grab over and so on, even in tighter corners. And assistance systems, we can also check that out right here. I sometimes tend to misuse this assistance systems, because when they're functioning here well also on the countryside road, you know that they are really good and deliberated. And here, although it's meant to be used for the motorway, where the lines and so on are even better, look at here. Now I have to correct it a little bit. Yeah, this was a very tricky section, but before it was working very well. Let's try here again. Once again, it's meant for the motorway, but here now, when you also have like some lines with interruptions inside, let's see how it keeps the car in the lane at around 70 kilometers an hour. Oh, this is tricky now. Yeah, this is you can't trust it 100%. It's not like an autonomous drive, but the good thing is that even when you misuse it here for countryside roads, you see that it doesn't do any hectic steering movements. And you feel it also when you are on the motorway and you follow like a slight bend, that doesn't start to, like going hectic left and right and so on. It always keeps it rather smooth here from the steering wheel. So here now, once again, 0 RPM. For example, when you're driving city roundabouts and so on, it's just so much more silent with plug-in hybrid drivetrain. And this one here, the weaker horsepower spec of the hybrid drivetrain we are driving at the moment, will be one of the main engines that customers will go for, and only makes sense because you can keep the fuel consumption relatively low if you recharge frequently, and even without, you always have the recuperation moment. The recuperation has been enhanced as well. You can just get more energy back to the battery again. Most of the time you just use the brake pedal and then you have the recuperation. You can see it on the left side of the instruments. It's not that you have like a B mode where you can increase the recuperation here directly somewhere. So the only thing you can do, you can set a hotkey here for recuperation in the vehicle menu. This is usually set to automatic. So when the car is in front of me, there's more recuperation. When there's no car in front of me, there's less. You can then also set it here to low. So when I lift my foot on the throttle, there's hardly any recuperation, or you can put it to high. But that you change that while driving is not very realistic. It's more that you pick one setting you prefer. Here, high recuperation, there's strong recuperation then, even stronger than when the battery is more depleted. So the key thing is that you pick your own setting that you prefer, basically, and then keep it, because this is also a last mode setting. So in this case, then this mode is being kept even if you start the vehicle new again. Oh, this is, by the way, the speed warning. So I mean, sometimes it can be helpful, but here, for example, it came a little too late because now the speed has been changed. If you want to get rid of the speed warning, that actually works also to be deactivated while driving in a relatively easy way. There's this assistance systems hotkey in the top part right there, speed warning, and you don't have to click there. It's also okay if you click in the middle part here. So this is possible actually. Yeah, but overall, of course, it's always better not to control anything in the infotainment system while driving, because it's always distracting. And I mean, they forbid us for good reason to use the smartphones. Not too much should be done in the screen. And by the way, the GPS, even if you don't see anything here, or maybe the passenger is doing something here, I have GPS arrows in the head-up display and also here in the digital instruments. This is, however, at the moment all the car internal GPS. So let's go back here. When I accelerate all electric, I can even push the pedal down a little bit more. That works, and it's super smooth. So I really enjoy driving it all electric. It would also fit to the Passat to be all electric in total. That would work, at least driving wise. And the balance is also really good. You remember that the vehicle is longer than before, way longer. Has also a longer wheelbase, for example. But still, it's quite agile. Feels good. Nice comfort from the seats. So the overall package is once again long-term, long journey, also comfort. And also one of the key features here is the acoustic package. So it's so silent in here. At the moment, 70 kilometers an hour. At a later stage, we can also do some more high speed on German Autobahn. But this works very well. So aerodynamics are better than before, and also the sound installation. So it's even more silent. So one of the key things at first was, can it really keep up with Audi maybe to be a little bit more upmarket and premium? Well, as for the suspension comfort and especially the noise comfort, I don't feel any big difference there, honestly. Software things, we had some screen freeze in individual tiles. For example, we were controlling the climate unit, it was stuck for maybe half a minute, then it came back to life. So these things are still happening, but the overall performance of the infotainment is also improved meanwhile. And now, once again, accelerating out of the roundabout. Yeah, there's a lot of fun, good control from the steering. And one more time, let's go to the sport mode. There we go. Here you see engine is not on. Just when I really floor it down like this, then you also have it more audible from the whole engine. Acceleration with both drivetrains at the same time. Let's floor it. Plop, that's 80 kilometers an hour. So at the first electric drivetrain was active, and some wheel spin. Remember, all of the power via the front axle. Of course, at some point it does limit then what you can bring to the road. So that's also one of the reasons why the 2-liter TSI with the all-wheel drive will be even quicker than this one here. So when you really floor it down and then control it with the steering wheel, you have to be careful. So I wouldn't say this is the biggest strength. You have the performance, yes, and will, for example, be also important on the motorway that you have the performance when you do some quick overtaking maneuvers. What they have changed here in this generation is also that in basically all acceleration moments, you always have this electric help. So it's meant to be that you always have something left of the battery, and then you have the acceleration help. It's not really meant to be used for, you just deplete the battery and then drive the whole time just with empty battery. They really try to encourage customers also to recharge it at home at the wall box and so on. Then, of course, the whole drivetrain makes sense here. Now the 2-liter TDI. Let's go. Ooh. Nice. 70. Yeah. Good acceleration. And I also want to do the test like accelerating out of the corner. Front-wheel drive only, but still you see how calm the steering was remaining, although we were putting so much power on the front wheels, being here in the sport mode. Good acceleration, and this is also the second volume engine, so the plug-in hybrid in the lower horsepower trim, and this one here, the 2-liter TDI, 150 horsepower. These will be the two main engines, the best sellers. That's also the pick today. Of course, when you have the diesel, especially in the low speed areas, yeah, you just hear it, but as soon as you pick up the speed a little bit, then it diminishes. It's more about the wind noise. However, since it's so silent in here with all that insulation, it's still really good. And wow, look at that, how the vehicle performs in the corner, even though when the DCC is here at the moment on the sporty side, individual, I can have it on the comfortable trim, but in the corners doesn't make too much of a difference. More about running straight. I really love the comfortable setup, and the new Passat really drives so smooth no matter which engine version you pick. The diesel might make sense for long motorway journeys. You can score some yeah, even with higher speed, 6 liters and 1 kilometers, like 40 mpg US, 50 mpg UK, and it will always be in that region. You can do a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse when you really go super high speed, but there's not a wide span of fuel consumption, whereas the pure petrol engine will have a wider span between minimum and maximum, and the plug-in hybrid drivetrain really depends on how is your electric usage of that vehicle then. It's more about the individual usage of each drivetrain. And one more thing I really have to comment on when we're driving that one here. So here at this very same opportunity, we've been driving the Tiguan and we've been driving the Passat. And the Tiguan is inside the SUV segment, the compact SUV segment, a very elaborated ride. We really have to say that. But when you first drive a Tiguan and then go to a Passat, the choice, to me at least, is pretty clear. Yes, the Passat, of course, is way larger, or basically different segment, you know. Tiguan is way shorter, but from this general philosophical question, SUV or sedan / estate. To me now, I mean, this is like they're on the same platform. It's the same coloration. They share so many parts, actually. And you have to say that here you sit a little bit lower. It's better because the center of gravity is lower. And when you are in the corners, this one here is so much smoother than the SUV. You just feel calm, and especially, you know, for the passenger. So we were driving back and forth, Tiguan, Passat, Tiguan, Passat, Tiguan, Passat. And especially for Leah then as a passenger, she was like, oh wow, can you drive a little bit slower with the Tiguan? And here with the Passat, I can drive way faster, and she's perfectly fine with that, and really calm and doesn't get sick and so on. So yeah, just as a very important side note, if you decide between SUV and estate or sedan, probably between SUV and estate to have that, you know, practical hatch, I would maybe take a test ride and then see for yourself. I can just say, when I enter an SUV, I love the upright seating position, but as soon as you start driving, then in the driving dynamics, the non-SUV, the real cars, definitely still better. Which one would I take today? Well, maybe here, the Reef Blue. Haven't seen that one yet. This color, yeah, my favorite color in the lineup, I think. Or maybe a matte gray color or something. R-Line or not? I think the Elegance has something more elegant indeed. Yeah, totally matter of preference. But then again, think about that the R-Line also adds the little bit sportier or stiffer suspension. So I would probably go for most comfort, and then together with the DCC Pro. Interior, I think also with the microfiber seats, not necessarily the R-Line seats, but both are actually quite good. Drivetrain, I think I would go with the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. It makes sense for the Passat. And if you can do some electric commuting in the city and then long way, then also having the full range with the combustion engine, I think overall makes sense, and also maybe as a diesel replacement on long term. So which one would you go for? Tell me in the comments, and also tune in to the Škoda Superb.